We are heartbroken by the tragic loss of Alex Pretti that occurred yesterday in Minneapolis. We extend our love, support, and heartfelt sympathies to Alex's family, friends, and our community during this difficult time. Please join us in honoring the life and memory of Alex Pretti with a moment of silence.
Several years ago, when freedom fighters in Hong Kong were demanding to be freed from the tyrannical leadership of Xi Jinping, or as Adam Silver prefers to call him, Daddy. Several years ago, NBA fans supporting those freedom fighters, they were holding up signs that said "Free Hong Kong" in NBA arenas. But those paying customers, they were physically removed from the arena. Why? Oh, we're a basketball league. We don't want to involve ourselves with global politics. Several months ago, as millions of normal people were mourning the loss of the great American Charlie Kirk, an employee of the NBA got on social media and denigrated his legacy. They claimed Charlie Kirk was a terrible person who deserves no sympathy because he didn't believe in empathy. Once again, the NBA chose to exercise their right to remain silent. Supposedly, the NBA launched an investigation into this employee. Of course, no investigation was needed. This disgusting vitriol, it was publicly available on social media. What ended up happening to this employee from the NBA? I have no idea because the league pretended that it never happened. But when an ICU nurse voluntarily puts himself in a dangerous situation, when an ICU nurse puts himself into a war zone, when an ICU nurse suddenly changes occupations and chooses to identify as a traffic director, when a 37-year-old man who was allegedly part of an organized militant group that has been terrorizing ICE agents all over Minneapolis stand. When an ICU nurse moonlights on weekends as a sergeant in the woke army, like he is Sergeant Slaughter from the WWF, and that sergeant ends up getting slaughtered. The NBA wants to have a moment of silence. The NBA wants to honor someone who involved themselves in an ongoing war against law enforcement? Why are we repeating past mistakes? The NBA, more than any other league, the NBA should be very familiar with the consequences of injecting the disease of politics into your league. And they damn sure know the consequences of embracing the woke wiener. When we talked about this on Saturday, after the game between Minnesota and the Rainbow Warriors from Golden State was postponed, I tried to give the NBA the benefit of the doubt. Even though I didn't believe it, I tried to see this from a safety perspective. The altercation with Alex Pretti, it happened a couple of miles away from the Target Center in Minneapolis. Naturally, there were riots. Hell, there are temper tantrums anytime deacons at Woke United Methodist don't get their way. Even though I didn't believe it, I thought maybe, just maybe, Adam Silver was being overly cautious. Maybe he was looking out for the safety of his coaches and players, the safety of the people trying to go to the game that night. It's hard enough dealing with traffic in major cities to get to a sporting event, much less having to walk through a group of first-class privates in the woke army who are blocking the street. But after seeing some of the reactions from NBA players, and especially the players' union, the same players' union who released a doofus statement that was completely unnecessary, we stand in solidarity with the woke army in Minnesota, and we defend our right to speak freely. After seeing a lot of these uninformed reactions, it is abundantly clear that the postponing of the game on Saturday, this was a political statement. And once again, The NBA is on the wrong side of the issue. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about the disastrous premiere of Elle Duncan on Netflix. Elle Duncan wasn't really all that popular at ESPN, and she's damn sure not off to a good start with Netflix. Her immaculate debut was universally criticized by Netflix viewers, many of which are already begging Elle Duncan to shut the hell up and stop talking. I give you all the details, so if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. After the game yesterday, Steph Curry, he gave the usual post-game press conference. Now, keep in mind, this is a press conference following an NBA game. Typically, players and coaches, they open with a brief statement about the game, then take questions from the cleat chasers in the mainstream sports media. But instead of talking about the game, it appeared that Steph Curry was auditioning for the lead role in General Hospital or some other dramatic soap opera. Steph Curry wanted everyone to know he's sad. This is so heartbreaking. Someone I've never met in a city I've never lived in tragically lost their life. But during his dramatic portrayal of orchestrated sadness, Steph Curry chose to briefly look at the bright side. Watch for yourself.
You can kind of feel it when we got here, whatever, 2 days ago. Protests that were going on downtown. It was amazing to watch the turnout and peaceful protests and the unified voice that was here. There's a lot of change that needs to happen, and when you're here and you feel it, I was glued to the TV yesterday when we weren't playing, just watching the coverage. Hopefully, again, the community kind of comes together and the right decisions are made so that there's more of a peaceful, environment here.
Moses mentioned being in his room and physically seeing the protests.
It's beautiful to see that turnout, and that speaks to how important people felt to have their voice heard.
Let me ask you something, and this is no disrespect to Steph Curry or his opinions. He's got every right to his opinion, just like everyone else. But I'm struggling to understand why we continue to put athletes in these situations. I'm struggling to understand why athletes, and this mainly seems to be a problem in the NBA and the WNBA dump, I don't understand why they feel obligated to use their platform to spread the woke fungus. Why do they feel obligated to use the NBA platform to talk about anything but basketball? Next Monday, I'm taking my oldest Yorkie, Chewy, to the oncologist. I'm driving almost 4 hours to what I'm told is one of the best cancer centers in the country to get my baby taken care of. When I'm meeting with the oncologist next Monday, I'm going to ask him about life expectancy. I'm going to ask him about surgery. I'm going to ask him about treatment options. How much is this going to cost me? More importantly, what is Chew's quality of life going to be like? Because right now, besides the fact that we have to spoon feed her 3 or 4 times a day, Chew is doing just fine. You know what I'm not going to ask the oncologist? Hey there, Doc. What do you think about ICE and their tactics? What are your thoughts on the tragic death of Alex Pretti? It's sad, isn't it? Can we hold hands and cry together? If the doctor started talking politics while I'm dealing with a dog with cancer, the only thing I'm asking is, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm not paying for your doofus political opinion. I'm not paying out the ass to hear your thoughts on ICE. I am paying for your medical opinion. It is the same thing with NBA players. Steph Curry is the best shooter I have ever seen. When I'm listening to Steph Curry, I want to hear his thoughts on basketball. I don't give a shit what he thinks about ice. The only time I want to hear his thoughts on ice is if he is icing his knees to recover from an injury. Let me show you the problem when one of the faces of the NBA calls the riots in Minneapolis stand amazing, beautiful, these protests are peaceful. Oh yeah? Take a look at these peaceful protests. Watch it for yourself. Is this what Steph Curry is supporting? Is this what the NBA Players Union is defending? You know, normal people and normal Democrats, if there are any more normal Democrats, normal people from both sides, we should be able to debate whether or not ICE was justified in shooting Alex Pretti. We should be able to have civil discourse. We should be able to talk about it. We should be able to have a bipartisan investigation, and whatever the investigation concludes, the results would be accepted by both sides. Now, maybe you agree with the results of the investigation, maybe you don't. But in a perfect world, we should be able to debate the results objectively. Unfortunately, we no longer live in a country like that. We used to, but that country no longer exists. And the reason it no longer exists is because one side doesn't want civil discourse. One side doesn't want conversation. They want chaos. They want destruction. They want temper tantrums and riots when things aren't going their way. And the NBA has aligned themselves with the party of chaos. The NBA has aligned themselves with the party of the donkey. Believe it or not all NBA players have lost their minds. Let me show you how Steph Curry should have approached this situation in Minnesota. Watch this for yourself.
I just love Minnesota. All the love and support that they show me, so I'm behind with whatever they would. I don't really have social media, so I'm not, in tune with everything, but I've heard about the stuff that's going on, so me and my family definitely praying for everybody.
You see how easy that was? If you read between the lines, you know what Anthony Edwards just told you? Anthony Edwards said, I'm here to play basketball. It's not my job to be a political pundit. It's not my job to fight for Somalians that I've never met. It's not my job to debate the tactics of ICE. My job is to play basketball to the best of my ability. And ultimately, my job is to entertain you. When you pay to see me, you're not paying to see me give a speech on immigration. You're paying to see me play basketball. You know, when I was growing up, adults were constantly telling me, and all kids at the time, adults were constantly telling us to stay in our lane. I do the same thing now with my own daughter. When she's involving herself in adult conversations, I tell her to stay in a child's place, stay in her lane, which is valuable wisdom that NBA players need to follow. No one cares about your politics. No one cares about your feelings. After you embraced mythical racism in 2020, no one cared about your league. If you don't want to go back to that place, if you don't want to go back to record low ratings, maybe it would be wise to listen to the wisdom of Laura Ingraham. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.